These are three explosive developments reshaping American politics and global security. Oil prices spiking past $100 per barrel as Trump's Iran war threatened economic stability, a deadly conflict that was claimed over 1,200 Iranian lives, including Supreme Leader Khamenei, and ISIS-inspired terrorist attack outside New York's Gracie Mansion that could have killed dozens. Let's start with the economic shockwaves hitting every American family right now. When you fill up your gas tank this week, you probably notice something alarming. Prices have absolutely exploded. We're talking about a 47 cent per gallon surge in just 7 days, with the national average jumping from $2.997 to $3.478. That's not a gradual increase, that's economic whiplash. But here is what really staggering. Brent crude prices have soared more than 40% in a single week. US crude topped $92 per barrel on Friday, making a 46% rise from just 1 month earlier. And over the weekend, Brent crude blasted past the psychology critical $100 per barrel mark for the first time since Trump's Iran war began. This isn't happening in a vacuum. Iran was effectively weaponized one of the world's most critical choke points, the Strait of Hormuz. This narrow maritime passage normally handles about 20% of global oil supply, moving oil from the Persian Gulf to the Gulf of Oman and beyond. But commercial shipping throughout the strait was hit rock bottom, with only 2 outbound transit recorded on March 18. Both Iran-flagged vessels. International commercial traffic was essentially vanished. The Joint Maritime Information Center describes it as a near total temporary pause in routine commercial traffic. Translation: one of the world's most vital energy arteries was being cut off, and oil producers are literally running out of places to store their crude. When supply chains get stronger like this, prices don't just rise, they rocket. Trump's response to this crisis reveals the impossible balancing act he's facing. On one hand, he is trying to project strength and confidence about the war effort. Short-term oil prices, which will drop rapidly when the destruction of the Iran nuclear threat is over, is a very small price to pay for USA and world safety and peace. He posted on social media adding, "Only fools will think differently." But the economic reality is far more complex. Every sustained $10 per barrel increase costs the average American household close to an extra $450 each year. We're not talking about abstract market movements, we're talking about real money coming out of real family budgets. And it gets worse when you consider that several high-frequency purchases was already spiked dramatically since January. Beef is up 50%, coffee up 80%. These are the kinds of price increases that consumer remembers, and they vote accordingly. Trump's Energy Secretary Chris Riggs is downplaying the crisis, telling Fox News Sunday that the price run up was nothing to do with any shortage of barrels of oil or natural gas. It's just fear and perception. She repeated this line on CNN, calling it a little bit of fear premium. But this messaging rings hollow when gas stations across America are posting prices that would have been unthinkable just weeks ago. The political pressure is mounting from both sides. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is demanding Trump tap the strategic petroleum reserve, saying, "When wars are global crises disrupt energy markets, the United States has the ability to act." But President Trump and his administration are refusing to do so. Even some Republicans are breaking ranks. Rep. Thomas Massey of Kentucky highlighted rising fuel prices and declared that waging war cost American taxpayers about $1 billion per day, asserting this isn't American first. But Trump is resisting calls to use American emergency oil reserves, insisting there is a lot of oil out there. Instead, his administration is trying more exotic solutions, offering political risk insurance, and naval escorts to tankers, and issuing a third-day sanction waiver to let Indian refiners buy more Russian oil. The International Energy Agency was warned that coordinate CPR released may be unnecessarily if OPEC doesn't increase production, but so far the cartel was maintained current output levels. These are been a solution to a hemorrhaging wound. The global markets are reflecting this panic. ASEAN marketers collapse. Japan Nikkei fell 5.2%. South Korea KOCPI plummeted 5.96%. Like falling dominoes, European markets followed suit, with the UK's FTSE 100 down 0.4% and the Europe stays 600 sinking 1.85%. South Korea benchmark KOPC get hammed so badly, down more than 8%, that trading was briefly suspended for the second time since last week. Goldman Sachs economics are now warning that inflation could snap back to 3% this year if the war drags on and oil prices keep climbing. They had predicted inflation would ease to 2% by year's end. The forecast is now in tatters. As one economist put in bluntly, there's no upside, there's just nothing but downside here in the US economy. This brings us to the war itself, which has fundamentally altered the global strategic landscape in ways we're still trying to comprehend. On February 28, Israel and the United States launched Operation Epic Fury, joint airstrikes that accomplished something many analysts thought impossible. They killed Iran's supreme leader Ali Khamenei. The 86-year-old Khamenei, who had ruled Iran since 1989, was assassinated along with several family members in coordinated strikes around Tehran. Iranian state media confirmed his death on March 1st, announcing 40 days of mourning and 7 days of public holiday. But the human cost was devastating. Fars news agency reported that Khamenei's daughter, son-in-law, 3 grandchildren and daughter-in-law were also killed in the strikes. His wife died from her injuries the following day. This wasn't a surgical strike, this was regime decapitation on a scale rarely seen in modern warfare. Using intelligence from the CIA to pinpoint leadership location, the operation achieved its stated objectives of degrading Iran military command structure, targeting the nuclear program that began under the collapse JCPOA nuclear deal framework. But it also triggered exactly what many feared: regional war with unpredictable consequences. Iranian response was being swift and brutal. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, including its external operations arm, the Quds Force, launched missile and drone strikes against Israel and US, based across the region, hitting targets in Azerbaijan, Bahrain, Iran, Jordan, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates. This isn't a bilateral conflict anymore. It's a regional conflagration that drawing in multiple countries and threatening to spiral completely out of control. The human toll is staggering. Iranian officials report at least 1,255 people killed, including 200 children and 11 healthcare workers. Among the most heartbreaking casualties were 175 schoolgirls and staffs who died when a missile struck a primary school in Minab, in southern Iran on the first day of the war. More than 12,000 people have been wounded, mostly from burns and crash injuries, while 29 clinical facilities was being damaged and 10 forces to shut down. American losses, while smaller, are still significant. 7 US service members was being killed during operation connected to the war. 6 US Army Reserve soldiers died in an Iranian drone strike on a makeshift operation center in the Kuwait, including Major Jeffrey O'Brien, Chief Warrant Officer 3 Robert Marsden, and Capitan Cody Cork. They aren't just statistics. These are American men and women who won't be becoming home. Most significantly for Iranian's future, the assembly of experts select Mojjan Kamel, the dead Supreme Leader's second son, as the new Supreme Leader on March 8. This is Trump's worst case scenario, as he put, because it means the regime was managed to maintain continually despite the devastating attacks. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and Iran's top leaders have already pledged allegiance to the younger Khamenei, suggesting the theocratic system was survived its greatest test. The scale of the military operation is almost incomparable. US Central Command reports striking more than 300 targets in Iran and destroying 43 Iranian warships since February 28. Trump told reporters that just about everything being knocked out and claimed Iran had no navy, air force, air detection or radar left. The operation required strike on almost 2,000 airpoints in just the first few days. That's one munition per airpoint, with potentially thousands more to go. But Trump's own messaging about the war was being confusing and contradictory. He said the war is nearly over while simultaneously telling House Republicans he haven't won enough. His demand Iran unconditional surrender, while also suggesting the conflict might end when basically I can see that they will no longer have any capacity whatsoever for a very long period of time of developing weaponry that could be used against the United States, Israel, or any of our allies. Iran shows no sign of backing down. Foreign Minister Abbas Agraci rejected ceasefire calls on Meet the Press, saying his country needs to continue fighting for the sake of our people. Iranian officials have been treated that if US-Israel strikes continue, Iran will not allow to export of a single liter of oil from the region, a threat that could completely paralyze global energy markets. The international response was split predictably along geopolitical lines. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte said Europe is supportive of the US attacks, calling Iran a threat. Countries including Ukraine, Australia, Canada, Germany, and New Zealand have offered at least partial support. But China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi condemned the strikes as unacceptable and criticized the blatant killing of sovereign leaders and the incitement of regime change. This war didn't emerge from nowhere. It's the culmination of escalating tensions that began with Hamas October 7, 2023 attacks on Israel. The assault, which killed nearly 1,200 people and saw 251 kidnapped, triggered a cascade of 7 including Hezbollah's rockets attacks, direct Iran-Israel airstrikes in 2024, and a 12-day war in June 2025 that saw US airstrikes on Iranian's nuclear facilities. By January 2026, Iranian security forces were killing thousands of protesters in the largest demonstration since the last Islamic Revolution. While Americans grapple with these massive global developments, we're also confronting a chilling reminder that terrorists can strike at heart of American democracy itself. On Saturday, March 72, young men attempting to bomb Gracie Mansion, the official residence of New York mayors, in what investigators are calling an ISIS-inspired terrorist attack. The suspects, 80 years old Emir Balat and 90 years old Ibrahim Kayumi, both from Pennsylvania, threw improvised explosive devices near the mansion during dual protest. The devices contain triacetone tripoxide, or TATP, a dangerous and highly volatile homemade explosive that's been used in terrorist attacks worldwide. These weren't crude pipe bombs. They were sophisticated weapons designed to kill and maim, contain nuts, bolts, screw, and fragmentation materials. This isn't a religion that just stands when people talk about the blessed name of the Prophet. Blessed name of the Prophet, Balat allegedly said after his arrest. He take action. Even more chilling, Balat told investigators he wanted to carry out an attack bigger than 2013 Boston Marathon bombing that killed 3 people. While in custody, he pledged his allegate to ISIS in writing. Both suspects had concerning travel histories. Balat spent several months in Istanbul from May to August 2025 and had returned from Turkey in January. Kayumi had traveled to Istanbul in summer 2024 and to Saudi Arabia in March of that year. These trips raised obvious questions about potential training or radicalization abroad. The attack targeted Mayor Zahor Mandani, New York's first Muslim and Asian American mayor, who has sworn in just 2 months ago. Mamdani wasn't calm during the attack. He and First Lady Ramadan were visiting the New York City Sign Museum in Brooklyn, having known about the protest weeks in advance. But the symbolism is unmistakable. ISIS inspired terrorists attempting to murder America's first Muslim mayor of the nation's largest city. This context makes this ever more disturbing. The attack occurred during protests organized by Jack Lang, a far-right influencer who was recently pardoned for his role in the January 6 Capitol riots. An anti-Muslim demonstration called Stop the Islamic Takeover of New York City, Stop New York City Public Muslim Prayer, drew 20 participants. The counter-protest, run the Nazists out of the New York City Stand Against Hate, attracted 125 demonstrators at its peak. This convergence far-right extremists protesting against Muslim Americans, while self-radicalized ISIS symptomizer planned terrorist attacks represents a perfect storm of American political violence. Commissar Jessica Twitch called it a planned attack motivated by extremist ideology and inspired by violent foreign terrorist organization. The explosive devices were smaller than footballs, but packed with deadly potential. They appeared to be jars wrapped in black tape with nuts, bolt screws, and hobby fuses, exactly the kind of any personal weapons designed to maximize casualties in crowds. A third device found in a vehicle near the scene fortunately did not contain explosive material. So that's it for today. The next few weekends will be crucial. Oil markets remain volatile. The Iran war shows no sign of quick resolution despite Trump's optimistic projection, and security officials are clearly concerned about copycat terrorist attacks. Americans are watching gas prices, casualty reports, and threat levels with equal concern, wondering how these massive global shifts will affect their daily lives, their safety, and their country's future.